Thank you for checking out Going Deeper. I'm your host, Matt. I've got a great show planned for you. And if you haven't already, make sure you like and subscribe to this page. My guest tonight is an absolute legend in this industry. You'll know her from her appearances on websites such as Brazzers and MILF.com, Playboy.com. I guess if you were at the 2008 AVN Hall of Fame show, you would have seen her inducted into the AVN Hall of Fame. This woman has her hands in everything, so I'm actually going to post links to her social media and her own website in the episode description, but I really want to recommend you check out her OnlyFans at Brittany_Andrews. Links to that below as well, as always. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming to the show the bodacious Brittany Andrews. Brittany, how are you tonight?
I'm feeling, you know what? That should have been my name, Bodacious Brittany. It was almost buxom Brittany. So Bodacious Brittany is like right underneath that.
Now, where do you get Andrews from, though? Because I read at one point you may have decided to go with Bardot, which I guess would have been like a Bridget Bardot reference.
Well, yeah, and there's now a Brittany Bardot. So, I'm glad I didn't because I left that, open for the individual that now does have it. But, so I did use Bardot in like a magazine before I came up with my name. And then, the first film that I did, it was called Internal Affairs. It was like 1994 with Ashlyn Gear and John Doe. And I had to come up with my name. And I'm an extremely, patient person. I was going through a phone book. Kids, a phone book is something that we used to use before the internet to look up phone numbers and names and shit. And so Andrews, that's as far as I got. They were like, bitch, get on set. You got to do your blowjob right now. And there you go. And that was that. Brittany Andrews, it was.
Did you start going into film, or did you start in any other form of like adult entertainment industry? I think I read you were a feature dancer initially, right?
Yeah, so I started off as a regular stripper. Then I did that for like less than a year. Then I got into feature dancing. What is on the floor? I hope it's not like a piece of poop. Oh, it's a gummy bear. Okay, sorry.
Oh, that's fun.
What happens when you shoot at your own home? I was on my toes. Okay, for anybody that's got a foot fetish right there. Anyways, sorry, moving along. So I started off as a stripper, then was a feature dancer, then started doing magazines. And when I started doing magazines, High Society and Cherry Magazine said, hey, you know what? We're doing this summer edition in Jamaica, spring break edition, actually. My roommate for that particular trip was the one and only Jenna Jameson herself. And I really had been wanting to get into films at that time. And when I met her, she was like, hey, girl, come to LA and move with me. And so move into the apartment with me. And so I said, yes, bitch. And packed up my little Geo Tracker Malibu Bay Barbie car. I was living in McAllen, Texas at that time, like right on the border of Mexico, and packed up my little Barbie car and moved to LA. And the rest is her story.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, I was telling you before the show, I'm 36 years old, so my prime was probably about 20 years ago in terms of...
Oh, whatever. Men's prime is in their 30s. Women is in their 20s.
I apologize. My porn-watching prime was probably about 20 years ago. Yeah, I should have clarified that. No, I hit my prime at about 7, and then we just started gaining weight and getting weird. That's kind of how I've lived my life, but... My porn watching prime was about 20 years ago. Let's say 18 years ago when I was 18 years old. But I think we all know what I mean. The problem, I watched your YouTube video, and the first question you answered on the first video I saw was you going, people always ask me, what was different about porn then, back when you started shooting, or the earlier days, and what it is now? Now, you were again, my prime, all right, I could rattle off names that you may know and you may not, and I may love them so deeply that I would, throw my family away to run away with one of them. Um,
And
we
I
were
may
lucky.
want to kill her. You never know, right?
We had one of our first interviews we did actually for this show was with Gage. I don't know if you remember Gage when she
Oh,
was.
yeah. She was a dirty bitch.
We have interviewed Jim Powers, the
Okay,
director
very
from
good.
around that time. Now, let me ask, in that early 2000s, and Jim kind of confirmed this too, things started getting like more extreme.
Yeah.
Like you had your Extreme Associates, what is it, studio. Did you fall into that at all, or have you always just known what you like, know what you don't like?
So, yeah, so they used to have something that was called the Cambria list. So back in the like 80s, 90s, people were going to jail for making porn. And so yeah, there was a list that was made by a lawyer of different things that the adult industry was not supposed to do to keep us out of jail. And it was kind of like the Bible for the adult entertainment industry, right? But then out of nowhere, Extreme Associates came in and said, fuck that. I'm taking my big chuck out and just swinging it everywhere. And there goes that list. There goes that rule. And so, by the time, it was the early 2000s, I used to have like a 5,000 square foot studio downtown LA that I rented out. It was like one of the top filming studios for the adult film industry. And, I always worked with Playboy a lot. And, kind of my early career, I did a lot of magazine layouts. Me, Jenna, and the other gal that was living in the same place, Nikki Tyler, like the three of us were known for like the amount of photo shoots that we did. We were like in every 1-800 commercial, in the back of magazines. I had like almost as many back covers as I did front covers. And so, back in the 90s, it was all about like not being a dirty bitch, right? It was all about like Vivid and Playboy and, Penthouse and being really beautiful. And like that was more what everybody was going for, that was looking for a long-term career.
Sure.
And so, once Extreme Associates came out, I already had my brand very established. And for myself, I did a lot of fetish. It was called fetish back then, but what it was femdom. It was before the word femdom even came out. I was doing a ton of femdom. So I really already had like my brand already carved out. And it was kind of like, hot girl shit and femdom shit before femdom existed. So I kind of stuck to those two, and still to this day, that's pretty much where my brand sits, is hot girl shit, femdom shit. But the hot girl shit nowadays has gotten a lot more filthier. So that's kind of cool because you can have like a bigger range of like things that you can do where that was really kind of not good for your career when you were younger.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So yours more isn't so much about, I mean, obviously there are limitations and stuff you won't do on film, but some of the dirtier stuff you're saying, maybe this gives you, this almost sounded real bad, almost as bad as legend sounds. I feel like legend sounds old and I hate saying that, but you are a legend.
Yes, bitch. When I was younger, my office used to make a joke and be like, oh, you're a legend. I'm like, bitch, I'm not that old. Right now I am that fucking old. So I wear that motherfucking like legend, like, a band on my sleeve. I'm an old bitch that's a legend and I'm proud of it.
Is it, I mean, have you picked up any new fetishes or likes or anything that you've shot as you've been able to, again, like expand your brand, and now beautiful woman, classy woman is able to do dirtier stuff? Or have you still pretty much kept all your same likes? Have you tried anything new that you were surprised at how much you actually liked it on camera?
I was so much of a dirty whore when I was young. Oh my God. I just wasn't able to do any of it on film, So I don't think that there's anything that, by the time I was 30, I'd fucking done everything, back, forth, and around. I think the only thing, well, I did do the world's largest, most extravagant foot job gangbang, but in general, I don't think I've ever done like a regular gangbang yet, and I don't know if I ever will. I'm not sure if it's like I love watching them and like jerking off to them, but I don't know if I actually do want to do an all Asian male gangbang because we finally, for the first time in the history of porn, have got enough Asians to like just barely enough to do a gangbang with them. And I do love Asians, and I just think it would be fun to do. And I keep talking about it. I need to like actually do it, but I think it's like the only thing that I haven't like really. But I'm sure, like, I haven't done, like, maybe some other kind of extreme stuff. I haven't done a blow bang, which to me still kind of goes underneath the gang genre.
Right. Yeah. Can I ask you a fucking totally out of left field question?
Sure, go for it, boo.
Did you play piano growing up?
I did not.
Okay. You have very pretty, giant fingers.
I do.
Beautiful, slender woman fingers is what I would say. Yeah.
It's really good for like my favorite thing to do with my fingers and these fingernails is I really love cock cages, right? And when I've got a guy in chastity and then just, on the metal rings of the prisoner's cage. That's my favorite.
How did you get into femdoming? I mean, look, Findoming, separate from femdoming, from the outside as an ugly guy who would have no chance at it, sounds awesome. Like, hey, I'm a pretty lady. Send me money now. So femdoming is, I guess, a broader, like a findom is a portion of femdoming, I would assume, right? What are you covering in there? Is it bondage? Is it pegging? Is it, like, what are you the queen of in terms of that type of stuff?
Well, so many things because I was so ahead of my time. Back in my youths, in my 20s, I used to be like the main ambassador for a company by the name of IBN. And that was all trampling, smothering, and face sitting. And then, of course, I was really well known for foot fetish back in the day. Like I said, I did the foot job gangbang, but I was also on the cover of every foot fetish magazine like 5 times. I personally had like a foot fetish. I liked my feet worshipped, still do to this day. And, I wrote all these different columns. I had my own series, my own foot fetish website. I also had one of the first ever financial domination, FinDom websites as well called Pay Miss Brittany. That was in the early 2000s. So, and I also was the first woman to put pegging on camera. I mean, so I'm known to be the pioneer of pegging because back in the days, in the 90s, I did the first pegging film that it was before the word pegging also came out. So I was doing all this stuff before there was a word for it. Femdom, findom, pegging, none of those words existed back then. And so yeah, it was like 1995. It was on VHS. There was very few women that were directing, even fewer women that were directing and producing, and even less that were doing distribution. And back then, all distribution was done by like Italian mafia in the East Coast that were, selling pieces of VHS. And I really, I was on some fucking trip when I was in my 20s about like female empowerment. And I really thought that the viewer was going to be women that enjoyed the female to male strap on, right? That's what it was called back then. I didn't realize that men were, of course, going to take that over too. But back then I was like really on some shit about it. Like, oh, this is to empower women. And, bless, I do think that a lot of women have been empowered by it. And You're welcome, bitches. But they said to me, what the fuck are we supposed to do? Mind you, this is 1995. Do with this faggot shit, right? That's what they said to me. Exactly those words. Don't cancel me, kids. That's what they said. I'm just quoting it, right?
Yeah, you can't cancel for a quote. I believe
yeah, exactly,
that.
dude.
No.
Right. So yeah, inevitably I was like, this isn't for gay men. This is for like straight women. And so inevitably I ended up having to do my own distribution to get it out there. And, I still, to this day, still do Brittany's Bitch Boys. But yeah, I started that in like 1995 or 96 on VHS. So pioneer pegging.
Pioneer.
I mean, I wasn't the pioneer of like pegging in general, but just putting it on film and selling it to the masses.
Well, sure. You weren't the first one to go strap on. What if we put it inside a guy? But you were the first one to put it on camera. So there you go. There you go.
Exactly.
We are actually going to take a break real fast, and we'll come back. I did not tell you this beforehand, Brittany, but we have a couple games. I say we because I used to have a co-host. He's gone now, and he may be having an appearance on the show tonight. So, ladies and gentlemen, my guest tonight, Brittany Andrews. Make sure you check out her OnlyFans at Brittany_Andrews, and check all the links in the episode description. If you can't sign up for the OnlyFans right now, at least follow her across all social media, okay? We will be right back.
Do you have that gotta finish feeling that just won't quit? Would Mistress be disappointed in the seed you've spilled? Now might be the time to try Goontrex. Goontrex, the first clinically tested YWF2 ejaculate inhibitor, allows mommies pay pigs to pound all day without the complications of post-nut clarity.
Side effects include loss of income, loss of home, loss of family, backed up prostate, homicidal rage, and dry basketball shorts.
So if you're a quick shooter with a family that you're ready to ignore, talk to your doctor and see if Goontrex is right for you. Goontrex. Keep it in all night and get back to gooning for a goddess. Brought to you by YourWorstFriend.com.
And we're back with my guest, Brittany Andrews. Make sure you follow her on all the links in the episode description. Brittany, we're going to play a game today. It's called I Said What.
You like it when dirty girls talk nasty to you?
I said what?
Kind of obsessed with horse cock.
Okay, sounds interesting.
I Said What is the world famous game show that no one's ever heard of. It's very simple. I'm going to play a 10-second clip from you.
Okay.
For you from a scene
interesting. Okay.
you were in, and I need you to identify what website or movie the clip is
Oh my
from.
God, I'm so gonna fail. I have the worst memory. All right, let's do it.
It's multiple choice, so after each clip, I'll give you 3 options to choose from. And if you need to re-listen, let me know, and we will play it again for you. So, let me do that. All right, now, for the first clip.
Okay.
Some history questions. And if you get it right, then I will continue to keep sucking your cock.
Miss Brittany Andrews, was that from A, myfirstsexteacher.com, B, milf.com, or C, momsteachsex.com?
I have no idea, but I actually do remember that scene because I ended up hiring my current writer from that because it was the only time in my 30 years of being in the business that I was like, you know what? I've never been edumacated while giving a motherfucking blowjob before. You are hired. Who is your writer? I'm hiring him right now, and he's been working for me for like the last 3 years since that second scene that was edumacational. It was the one time only in my life. I was like, this is like historic. So good job of finding something really cool to start with.
Well, okay. Clip number 1, B, the answer was milf.com. That is where you hired that gentleman. Now, I want to talk about this later. I'll bring it up later on. I got it. Okay. Number 2, here's the second clip.
Even jerking off to anal, that's what you're into. Because you've fucked a lot of girls in the ass?
Yeah, I've done it a couple times.
How many times have you fucked a girl in the ass?
Miss Brittany Andrews, that is from A, momishorny.com, B, stayhomemilf.com, or C, myfriendshotmom.com.
Does anybody ever get these questions right?
Yeah.
Really? I'm like, who am I even talking to? Is it Diego Perez?
Perhaps, yes, maybe.
I have no clue.
The answer to that one is A, momishorny.com. Yes, I will say, the idea of the game was to really stump the people I was interviewing, and I was fucking shocked at the other interviews I did, how quickly people were like, oh, that was this one here, da-da-da-da-da, and I was like, oh, shit, you really know your stuff. Good for you.
Yeah, after 30 years, I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Oh, my second dick again somewhere? All right, whoop, whoop.
All right. Clip number 3.
Honey, good boy. Oh, yes. Oh, God, don't stop. Keep going. I'll let you know when to stop. Not yet.
Clip number 3.
Sound like that in every scene.
You know what? You know what the key to a long career is? Consistency.
Yeah, consistency, dude. I have guys on the hub all the time. They're like, she says yes too much. I'm like, dude, what can I do? That's how I fuck, right? Like, you know, I've been doing this a long time, and I do it in my personal, like, it just comes out of my mouth. Like, you are who you are.
Was that from A, milfcruiser.com, B, mypervyfamily.com, or C, pervmom.com?
Oh boy, I'm just gonna be a guessing machine and say B.
Yeah, that's correct. Yes, B, mypervyfamily.com. There you go. We talked about a few things before that I wanted to touch on. The foot fetish thing. So you did not necessarily, it sounded like, did not necessarily go into it with your own foot fetish, but you kind of at some point said you really developed one a little bit. What does that stem from that you think? Or have you ever been told by guys what that stems? I have no, I lay this out every episode. As long as there's no kids and no animals in the room, I'm fine with whatever you do. I don't give a shit what anyone does. I just don't know.
But that's
a different situation.
She's old. She's 15 years old. So
wow, we just
love.
We just had to put down my 21-year-old cat on my birthday last year.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I got a kitty around here somewhere too. I got 2 dogs and a cat.
There you go.
And I just saved a bird from dying the other day. That was like a whole long thing. Anyways, what was the question?
I don't remember. Now I'm worried about the bird. Oh, I do remember. Foot fetish.
Foot fetish. Okay, where did it start from? So I started, when I first started doing magazines, right off the bat, I started working with Diane Hansen for Leg Show, and there was Leg Action, Leg Scene. Like, there was all these freaking foot fetish things, and I had no foot fetish because I remember when I lived in Texas, I was with a guy that had a foot fetish, and I was a stripper, and I was like, leave my feet alone. I got like stripper feet. Like, I didn't get it at that point yet, right? But then when I started doing all the foot fetish magazines, it was like, oh, okay. Like, I started just having an open mind to it. Like, oh, this is a thing. Guys are into it. And when I was doing the shoots, I started learning like all of the very classic vintage pinup like poses that you do and aspects to like the foot fetish. And I've never been a judgmental person either. I agree with the 2 things that you said. Sure. And so I was like, whatever. And I used to have like an 80-pound tank of nitrous oxide when I was younger. And I was doing like a big balloon. And one of my gay friends was like giving me a foot massage, and I totally busted a nut. And I was like, oh, this is all right. Let's work with this, you know? And so then I think like just from like kind of getting into the headset of this particular fetish that I was doing so much, then I started like playing with it in my own personal life. And like, I love missionary position when a guy is like sucking on my toes. Like, I think that's so fucking hot. And then it just became like a slight obsession, right? Like I can't help. All right. So I just watched that movie again, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood,
yep.
And Quentin Tarantino. I mean, there's so much feet in that film, right? And so, like, I was watching the film and I was like, oh, I didn't know that he had a foot fetish, but I was like, there's no way in hell that he does not have a foot fetish after watching this film. I mean, the feet are just like in that film. So, yeah. So, over time, I adopted many aspects of what I was doing for all these magazines and played with it in my own way with my own sexuality and made it I didn't mean to make it a part of me, but it just became a part of my own sexuality.
Sure. You said you got into the headspace of it, but what is the headspace of that? Is it a domination thing? Is it like this person is sucking on my feet where subconsciously you're like, it's the lowest part of my body, it touches the ground? What is the headspace on it? Because I have no idea.
Right. I don't think that the headspace for me started off with that. And even still to this day, like my foot fetish is definitely different than my boot fetish. Right? Because to me, a boot is where a bitch is on his knees and they are licking my feet from the floor.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
My feet, they've actually probably had an opportunity to fuck me. So that's a different guy, right? That's a different guy. It could be the same guy, but often it might be a different guy that's at the bottom of the boot and the guy that's sucking my toe. So I kind of feel like the foot fetish itself is more a glamour thing to me of like body worship, like somebody that's into body worship more. Sure. Where a boot licking slut is, a slave boy that he's probably never going to see the bottom of my feet, which is also part of the foot fetish, right? It's like the aspect of like, you don't get an opportunity to see the bottom of a woman's foot all that much unless you're intimate with her. Like I started learning about when I was shooting all of the magazine stuff about the hanging shoe, the dangling shoe off of your toes. So to this day, I'll be at the airport and I'll see a bitch dangling her shoe and I'm like, so fucking hot. I just want to take your foot and eat it right now, bitch. So, yeah, some of these things I feel like it's almost impossible for you not to. And I think especially because I started so young and I was pretty impressionable at that time, still figuring out my own sexuality, that it kind of all just got intermixed, one might say.
I think I read you have some other strange fetishes in an old interview. This is a Fleshbot interview you did, and I was just pulling this up real quick because I'm trying to.
Fetish?
What? No, I mean, okay, all right. No, that is not the one I thought was a little.
Okay.
Okay, let's go. You have a strap-on fetish. Totally get that. Understand that. Foot fetish. We went through that.
Yep.
Asian fetish. We kind of covered that. You really interested? Yep, definitely.
But you're not allowed to say that anymore.
I have had other performers tell me during another game that I shouldn't use the word interracial.
We're not allowed to say that either as an old bitch. It's so hard fucking keeping up with what I'm not allowed to say. I will say one thing. I've never met one Asian boy that was upset that I said that I loved Asian men.
Hey, you know what? And I've interviewed black male and female performers, and the black male performers are like, I don't give a shit. Oh, I'm upset by the stereotype that my dick is huge. A lot of them are like, oh. God forbid.
I did a long interview with Shawn Michaels, who's the one that came up with BBC. And we had a long conversation about that. So, you get varying opinions on gender and age.
Sure,
and as a white bitch, you're like, yo, just let me know what the fuck I'm supposed to say and not say. And I'll just do what I'm told because this is not my fight. And I'm respectful.
You actually shot with the gentleman who I interviewed, who, again, I brought up things like race play you're comfortable with. And he goes, I don't give a fuck. Whatever. It doesn't matter. John Legendary was the guy who told me that kind of stuff. And he... Again, same thing. Like, this is a business. This is acting and whatever. I'm not upset if somebody wants to be an activist. Everyone should be able to speak their mind.
Absolutely, yeah. Do you, boo.
But make sure you check with the person who should be offended and see if they're actually offended before you go around saying this person's offended, right?
Yeah, my big one that I have an issue with is sissification.
Oh, okay.
That's my big one, and I will ride on that mountain until I die.
Now, what is sissification, and what are they trying to do? Are they trying to get rid of the term sissy and implicated in there? Okay.
But the thing about it is, as an old bitch that's been doing this forever, right? Like there's a whole sissy culture, right? And the problem is, right? Okay, so I get where they're saying once again that they don't want to offend gay men that have had this word used against them as a slur. A lot of individuals have been hurt by this terminology, and yes, I agree with somebody that is gay, and especially someone that's like femme gay that especially might be going into a transition, like that's territory you shouldn't stand on, like using that word. It's inappropriate unless you first ask them and say, hey, you know what, are you comfortable with this? Because there's something called BDSM and humiliation and degradation. It is part of the whole fucking world of BDSM.
Sure.
So a lot of straight men that are into cross-dressing, like the humiliation of sissification, some femme men that are in the process of going, into transition, love sissification, love the bimbofication, sissification, the whole 9 yards. So it's just, there's been a culture of it, websites, clothing, hair, makeup, like a whole world of sissies and sissification that, okay, you don't want to call it that, right? Then what do you want to call it? Do you got some motherfucking alternative? If you ain't got an alternative, shut the fuck up and let it go, right? Just don't say it to the person that is offended by it. But for those that love it and enjoy it, and this whole websites and worlds and this whole culture has been built on it this is going back 30 years. I mean, as long as I can remember, there's been sissies in the gay pride parade, and they're all, dressed up in their sissy attires, and it's a wonderful fucking thing. It's a cross-dressing subculture, and I think it's not cool to take that away from the sissies.
You know what it is? It's so weird because porn is so progressive in action, and let me explain that. I don't mean liberal. I don't mean just progressive, moving forward with things. And yet, the people that want to cancel things or censor things or whatever, again, all sides of any political spectrum, there's someone that wants to get rid of what you're doing. They almost can't pick on anything for your industry from the inside, where you're giving with OnlyFans now, anyone of any color, any size, any whatever can make an account and, their own meritocracy. If they're going to work for it, they can create a career for themselves. But porn for so long, think about it. In the 90s and the early 2000s, who was employing trans sex workers? Porn was, right?
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. People will go back and they'll see the titles of these movies and go, tranny. Oh my God. What?
Right?
Right? Tranny. That's disgusting. These people are bigots. And it's like, no. That was just terminology. Don't get mad at the word.
That was the time. Yeah.
Don't get mad at the word. Get mad at the content. Okay, that's what I would say.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're gonna get mad at something. So.
Exactly, and there's nothing that's bad about sissification content. I love sissifying men.
Here's where it would be bad: if you're grabbing 3 of them, throwing them in a van, taking them to a warehouse, and sissifying them there against their will. That's not a good one.
No, I'm just kidding.
But that's, again,
I am a dominatrix. I do love torturing men.
There's when we talk about extreme.
It's all about consent. Of course. It's 2024.
4.
2026. Oh my God, how funny.
You almost jumped us 2 years. That's a problem. I don't want to jump too many more. All right. We're going to take another break, and we will be right back. My guest tonight, Miss Brittany Andrews. Make sure you check out our OnlyFans at Brittany_Andrews. Links to all that stuff in the episode description, as always. We'll be right back.
Tuesday. This Tuesday, come on down to the YourWorstFriend.com arena and see Glam Slam. Come see all of your favorites, including Pinealius, Thyrulium, and Pancreosa. What happens when Ovarium leaves her homeworld to clash with the beast himself, Testosaurus Sex? Go to YourWorstFriend.com now for tickets.
All right, and we're back with my guest, Brittany Andrews, Brittany_Andrews on OnlyFans. Make sure you check it out. I told you earlier I used to have a co-host. Now, unfortunately, he did die in a horrific glory hole accident. It's a real tragedy. We're all heartbroken. What we were able to do, though, is take his consciousness and put it into a new AI system that we've been working on. So my former co-host Shane, I'd like to play for you a clip from him. The people at home will see a video. You're just going to hear the audio right now, Brittany. This is AI Shane.
Greetings from the future. I am AI Shane, a time-traveling artificial intelligence sent back to prepare the world for future tragedies. Also, to ask porn stars questions. As I traverse the vast expanse of time, I bring forth this message of great importance. In the shadows of a once vibrant world, I bear witness to the remnants of society in a future fraught with desperation. Latex, once dismissed as inconsequential, now stands as a vital lifeline, its depletion hastened by its role as the fuel for our robotic helpers, driving humanity toward the brink of extinction. The world's industries grind to a halt. The forests are pillaged for their rubber trees and society crumbles. In this dystopian landscape, the struggle for control over dwindling latex supplies fuels the flames of global conflict, leaving behind a shattered civilization, its fate sealed by the scarcity of the humble resource known as latex. My question, don't you just hate condoms? Aren't they so boring? Shouldn't you save the vital resource known as latex for future generations and just raw dog it every time? This is AI Shane, signing off. Until we meet again in the annals of time.
Miss Brittany Andrews, what are your views on condoms and condoms in porn?
Well, the number one way to fuck up your cunt is to have sex with a lot of penises without a goddamn condom.
You sound just like my mother, by the way. I appreciate that. Thank you.
A, I like a clean cunt. I'm just saying. So, I was a condoms only performer for 20 plus years. I am the longest running or ever standing longest running condoms only performer in the history of porn. I was extremely consistent. I didn't shoot anything without a condom my entire career until I did my latest comeback in 2018. And my cunt has been disgusting ever since. When I used to use condoms, it was like an orchid. It was so pretty all the time. Now, let's just say me and boric acid have become best friends, and it's not pretty. Yeah, I really hate sex without condoms. I'm so not into it. I love condoms because I love a clean cunt, and that's it. You know, I'm very happy. You know, at the end of the day, I've been in this business so fucking long. I've seen everybody get everything. I've seen people die from the things that they've gotten in this business, you know, and I'm happy that I had 25 years of using condoms and keeping myself safe, because before they did not test for all the things that they do test for today. And that's one of the only reasons that I did finally change my mind. The last thing that they had on the list was hepatitis C. I have 2 autoimmune diseases. I've got lupus and Hashimoto's, which also makes it more difficult for my beautiful vajayjay that I love very much. For, you know, it's got the delicate ecosystem because I have a harder time because I have a compromised immune system. You get all these young guys that are shoving their dick in anything and everything that they've got great immune systems, you know, and then I get to fuck them and then I'm on boric acid for the next 2 weeks with antibiotics. It sucks. I really wish that condoms were the mainstay instead of not. And I just way prefer condoms because I don't like dealing with the dirty pussy.
I think that
A funky pussy. Yeah, it's awful.
I mean, that's the best answer I've heard yet, and the most reasonable one too. Like, you know, not there's no unreasonable reason a girl wouldn't want to do that. It's just growing up, I did notice I enjoyed the natural ones more than with a condom. But you're right. Like, if you got to put a performer out for X amount of time for something, or God forbid, you know, put them out of the industry altogether with something terrible.
Which
what's
I've
the point?
seen a lot. I actually got into a fight with one guy on set. He was highly offended that I was a condoms only performer. He came back to me crying he was HIV positive, you know, years later. And of course, that stayed with me very deeply as a human being. And, you know, of course, things are very different now, but still, you know, there's so many different STDs. And now with abortion not being legal everywhere, I feel there's more reasons to be condoms than there is not to be. I think there's one reason not to be, because it feels better for some people personally, you know. I always like to say, like, you know, on TikTok, sometimes they make, you know, I make these videos that, you know, talks about, you know, what size I like, you know, and I say that, you know, I like a little bit bigger of a size. And then they're like, oh, hot dog down the hallway. I'm like, I'm a fucking porn star. Do you want me to be in pain when I'm like, you know, having 9-inch cock? No, like, you want your porn star to be able to take big cock. Like, that's part of it. I'm like, honey, I don't have a hallway. You know, I've got a cathedral that men get on their knees and they worship at the fucking cathedral, right? So, yeah, like, I'm not going to be able to tell the difference if you're wearing a condom or not. Boo!
Okay, I think that's fair. I also have some kind of autoimmune disease. We don't know what it is yet, though. I'm getting vitiligo around my eyes, like I'm pushing for a wall on the southern border. It's very strange. I don't know. I need to find a doctor. Wow. Yeah, you hit me with a lot. That was a lot of good reasoning. I have like 3 jump off questions and I don't know where to start with it. We talked off air and you said it was all right to bring this up, your sobriety. How long have you been sober? Can I ask that?
Yes, you can. So, you know, officially I've got 8 years, consistent. But, you know, I had 4 years, almost 4 years before that. So I've got over, and then I had a little bit of an intermission, I would like to say. We just wanted to make sure that we were doing the right thing. And I was like, okay, yes, we are. And so, yeah, I've had over a decade of being sober.
Wow, that's really great. This is really going to bum the mood down after you talked about your quote unquote cunt for so long. My brother died of a drug overdose.
Don't hate gun. Like it, bitch.
My little brother died of a drug overdose about 10, 12 years ago. Yeah, you know, it's life, unfortunately. But it was pills that got him hooked into it. So you were working before the era that I even loved, and then, you know, after the era I loved as well. During that early 2000s time, there were so many performers who it felt like either fell into drugs or fell into unfortunate circumstances. Did you have people in the industry, names that people might recognize that you lost during that you were close with at all, or just in general you watched it happen?
Well, I mean, not just in the early 2000s. Sure. I mean, since the pandemic, there's been a lot, even before the pandemic. I mean, it's like, it feels like almost every year, the beginning of the year, it's like porn stars start dropping like flies. I mean, Oh, it's so difficult, over all the years that I've been around, the amount of individuals that I know that have passed away from drugs and alcohol in this business, and I think I always say, like, there's Hollywood, right? The Los Angeles Hollywood, right? That everybody knows about with the big actresses and, mainstream movies. And, I like to, porn has always been called like little Hollywood, right? And I think that in Hollywood, there's a lot of drug and alcohol use and abuse in the music industry and mainstream acting. I mean, it's just LA. It's like a party town, and people come and they get famous. They don't. That's also a reason to use drugs and alcohol too, or you're a failure, right? But either which way, it is like a huge party town, and it's really easy. So many people are coming from, like myself, I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, coming from the Midwest, coming to make it big, right? And there's a big party culture, and it's really easy to get mixed up and then taken down, and out sometimes. Unfortunately, yeah.
Did you fall into that during the industry? Did you fall into that when you were stripping prior to that? Did you always kind of have a predisposition to maybe taking things too far, too much in terms of substance?
Me? Am I the problem? Me? I was always work hard, play hard. My biggest ism has always been, and still is to this day, I am a workaholic, right? And so I was, a lot of people that knew me knew, like, yeah, I partied really hard, but I was also very responsible, extremely professional, always showed up, timely, human being. So I don't think that anyone ever thought that I had a problem, and I didn't think I had a problem because I knew bitches in this business that had fucking problems, and it wasn't me. It wasn't me. I paid my taxes. I had employees, LLCs, I showed up, da 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 da. However, once I did get the autoimmune diseases, like my body was like, yo, bitch, we can't keep up with you. You're working hard, you're dieting hard, you're not sleeping enough, you don't eat right, all these different things. And then you binge, right? You binge and you blow up, you party really hard for a day, then you're down for a day, because as you start getting older, you need time to recover from, partying hard. And I used to do this thing every year. It was called my personal Ramadan. It was 30 days, no drugs, sex, or alcohol, except work sex if I had to work. And I would meditate every day. I did this cleanse of this cabbage soup. And I went to church on Sundays. I fed the homeless on Saturdays. And I did this every year for many years. And the year that I got sober, the first year that I got sober, I did that. And I was like, ooh, do I need to live this way now? And I was like, yes, bitch. I could tell a difference in how I felt, where all the other years I did it, it was just like something I did like to be healthy. It was always like kind of stopping the summer and starting winter. So it was kind of like a discipline thing, like, all right, the summer's over, bitch, right? Time to get like really serious about work and everything, because that's when all the conventions and the award shows and all that stuff kind of happen. And so, but yeah, I did it that year, and I was like, wow, like I feel so much better, where that had never been the case before. I never, like, I didn't, it felt good to like, cleanse or whatever, but I didn't have like any major difference. But once I had gotten lupus, and then I did that, it was like, bitch, gotta make some changes.
But hey, and that goes into your workaholic thing. You recognized at the time, and I think so many people don't, because I don't know. Obviously, all the big name, all the people you'll see, this and that, take it like a business. But I also do a sideshow where I interview new girls who are coming up in the industry, try and get them a little more exposure. And I don't think a lot of new performers understand how much work actually goes into this. Like, guys from the outside definitely don't. Guys are like, Brittany goes on set.
They're like, oh, you just suck dick every day.
Yeah, she gets fuck for an hour and goes home, and then she gets, $45,000 a scene. It's no concept.
Kind of I like proxies, sim routers, freaking grid panels. Like, oh my God, the amount of technology that's in it today is insane, especially with adult, because we're like hacking everything, and if you're not hacking everything, you're not a success.
How do you have any idea how many Instagrams you've lost? Have you lost any yet? Are you pretty good with that?
I'm actually pretty good with that, but I am planning on starting a whole new strategy, because I'm always doing different strategies for like everything, and I'm going to be like starting a bunch of slave accounts with automations and so forth and so on. So I'm planning on losing a bunch.
Okay. All right. That's fair. But you'll have backups, so that's what's important. I have two more.
I mean, 2 accounts.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. What do you have coming up content wise that you're really excited for? Now, I saw another thing here. You did an interview with Lexington Steel, right?
Yes, we just shot The Lusty Landscaper and the Bored Housewife, which was our first time working together in like 20 plus years. And I said to him at the end, I said, honey, we got to fuck again before, the next 20 years, because otherwise we're going to have to do this in the senior citizen center, baby.
All right, let me ask, because you've been cast in a lot of MILF roles and this and that, which it seems like when certain women hit like 26, they start casting them in MILF roles nowadays,
as a 50-year-old
right?
bitch, yeah. I've done a few GILF as well, which I'm happy. I'm happy to do the GILF.
You are the hottest GILF in the world, if that is what they're categorizing you as. Do you like working with younger guys? Because, I mean, obviously with your age, it lends to you being the mom. Okay. All right.
I like young men in general. I like, like my aesthetic taste is going to be underneath the age of 30. Now, of course, in porn, a lot of times they give you like these like skinny nerdy dudes that look like they're 13. Like, I like hot guys that are in their 20s, so they got that one Persian guy I just fucked. Like, he's a good looking kid, that Zane Wild or whatever.
Okay. Yeah,
good looking kid, right? Yeah, Persians, we like Persians are good looking. That's it. Sorry, I hope that's not allowed.
Who knows anymore? Who knows?
Beautiful fucking people, both men and women. Like,
you either just gave the greatest compliment in the world to Persian men, or you just like named an empire that was genocided, or something. Who knows? And 5 years from now, you'll be a hero.
I'm an old bitch and I don't have any damn kids. I don't know what the fuck is going on in the world. You have to give me like 1 or 2 fuck ups and then just tell me and I'll shut the fuck up after that,
That's what I say. I go,
I don't have any kids around me to let me know I'm wrong.
I'm not a malicious person. You just got to give me a few chances. I'm dumb. Okay. That's what it is. So
yeah, I like young boys. Yeah.
You like working with
Mommy likes the young boys. I'm also dominant, right? So I like the young boys because, I like, they're impressionable.
I understand. Let me ask this for my last question here. And I don't think there is, actually, having talked to you and seeing how much you enjoy this, but maybe I'm wrong. Is there an exit plan?
Is there an exit plan? Not necessarily at this moment. I mean, I'm such a workaholic that I don't see myself like ever. I mean, obviously I'm 50. I didn't think I'd still be running this hard at this age. I'm like more surprised than anybody, dude. Totally. And feel very grateful and super blessed. But, obviously it is very hard on your back. I've had knee surgery, back surgery. Like, I don't know physically, like how long I can continue at least shooting like mainstream porn, because that can be like very physically taxing on you. But yeah, and I love like all kinds kinds of emerging technology. Like in 2020, I sold over 100, NFTs, and, I'm very involved with like crypto and Web3, metaverse, augmented reality, everything. I use so much AI. I use AI more than any other human being I know. And so, I love learning. I love applying all kinds of new stuff and figuring shit out. And, so I don't see myself as like the brain stopping per se, unless I get like, dementia, which, did do a lot of drugs. I did have that 80-pound tank of nitrous for 15 years. It could happen sooner than later. But, as long as I'm still functioning, I'm probably still, I think, I took like a 10-year break. I took a decade off and I left, and, I think, when I came back in, it was much more difficult than I thought it was going to be on many different levels. And, but I think sometimes like working harder for something makes you appreciate it even more. And there's so many things in this business that you can do that has nothing to do with like shooting mainstream porn or shooting content even, So, and I've done a lot of those things too. I've done a ton of management of other models and everything over the last like 20 years. And, so I don't know. I'm very much an entrepreneur. I love like, just kind of working because I'm a workaholic. Sure. And I do go to Workaholics Anonymous as well.
Okay. All right. I read that and I didn't know if that was a joke. You really do go to that?
I really do. I go to one that is for business owners because it is an addiction like everything else.
I was gonna say, are you doing a good job? Because you have more shit going. Yeah, you have more shit going on than anyone I've ever seen.
I totally suck at it. I'm not sober from that whatsoever at all. But, and like one of my other friends said, there's, like when you're talking about drugs and alcohol, like you do have to abstain, right? But with, a lot of other things like eating, you kind of got to eat, right? Yep. Work, you kind of got to work. Doing it piecemeal, doing like just, being aware, breathing, making different choices, like all those things, are still parts of recovery. And I always like to say that I'm a woman in recovery with a capital R, like, drugs and alcohol are not the only things. I have a portfolio of issues. I have more issues than Vogue. Bless your soul. I'll even, autograph that magazine for you. But, and we all do, right? At the end of the day. And so I do choose to consistently, as much as I love learning about everything else, I love learning about myself and working on myself and my own stuff on a regular basis so that I can try to show up in the world as a woman that I'm proud of, how I behave, how I act, what I do, choices that I make, all that stuff.
Ladies and gentlemen, what perfect answer to wrap this one up on. My guest tonight, Miss Brittany Andrews. You can find links to everything Brittany does, from social media to her own website, in the episode description. But make sure you check out her OnlyFans at Brittany_Andrews. Again, if you can't swing it right now, which I don't understand why she's charging the price she's currently charging. We don't know when this is coming out, but it's ridiculously low.
80% off. That's why it's a limited time offer.
With over 3,000 pieces of media on there. Like, what are we doing? Go sign up. What are we doing? Anyway, go sign up for Brittany's OnlyFans. Ladies and gentlemen, Brittany, thank you so much for coming on with me tonight.
Namaste. Thank you for having me on, Sugar Plum.
We will see you next week.